afternoon, dear Professor Sobczyk, dear Professor Ries, dear colleagues. First of all, I would like to express my gratitude to the conference organizers for giving me a chance to present my paper during such an interesting event. Such important event, I must say, because I think we've all noticed that these days we are talking more about how to end the human's life, about the abortion or euthanasia. Netherlands are a great example. In November 2023, the political party, the 66, drafted a bill to give people aged 75 and over the option to have euthanasia, felt they had completed life. Another example, United Kingdom. Last week's new provisions, terminally ill adults end-of-life bill. So we are talking about how to end human's life, but we are not talking about how to make the older people's life better, how to protect their lives. And that's why I think that our conference, our today's meeting is so important. So one more time, thank you very much for this opportunity. The issue of social exclusion of the older people is a very broad topic. And due to limited time, I've decided to focus solely on only one thing, specifically on the problem of frauds committed against older people, frauds which are directly connected with the social exclusion of the older people. And I think we've all have noticed that nowadays, or in recent years, the older people have increasingly become a source of easy income for criminals, both the ordinary ones using the standard methods like violence or threat, but also the sophisticated ones. Sophisticated in the meaning they use modern technologies, internet, smartphones, applications, etc. And particularly popular in Poland in recent years are frauds committed against the older people belonging to a group of behaviors collectively referred to as so-called, I don't know how to say it in English, I think it's grandparent fraud. In Poland we say oszustwo na wnuczka. And the concept of this kind of behavior is really simple. The perpetrator search for the telephone number of the older person, then he try to establish telephone contact, convince the older person that he or she is his or her member of family and he or she urgently needs financial help. And then the third party collects the money and as you can see, disappears without a trace. And the intention of the perpetrators is clear, and it's simply as well, because the intention is to exploit the limited cognitive abilities of some of the older people due to, for example, dementia, and intensify it by stress, by limited time, so by the time pressure, by the I don't know, by the care of family, for the care for family, or by the desire to help them. So it's quite easy to understand why they are doing it. Unfortunately, this kind of behaviors entails, or at least may entail, various consequences for the older people. Most obvious, loss of cash, even thousand or tens of thousands of zlotys. Older people can lose with this kind of behavior all their savings, all their means of living, and it brings them to social exclusion as well. But there are other consequences, the psychological ones, typical for the victims of the crime, like I don't know, sense of unreality, intrusive memories, and anxiety, difficulties with concentrating. But what is even more important, there is a link between fraud committed against older people and lower life satisfaction. So it brings us to the social exclusion as well. And unfortunately, this is not the end, because there are other consequences of the frauds committed against the older people. I mean the consequences from the members of family, from the police officer after revealing the crime was committed. So the consequences, we can say, secondary victimization resulting from the negative attitude of the third parties towards older people after revealing the crime. And for example, the family of the aggrieved party may hold a grudge against them, blame them for what happened, reproach them for their naivety, susceptibility to influence, perhaps stupidity, or even suggest, in crude terms, brain disorders. And the same situation can happen when we talk about the police officers. And such a great social harm, of discussed behaviors suggests they should be. No problem. No problem. Something interesting. Suggests that they should be firmly and at the same adequately counteracted. But the question is how to do it. And the easiest, the cheapest, the fastest solution is a criminal law. So there may be a desire to increase the penalty for the fraud committed against the older people, to show in unambiguous, to show in immediately striking way that that this kind of conduct is particularly reprehensible, that government, that society are particularly keen on combat this kind of conduct. And of course we can make it. It's not very difficult, but if we want to do it, we should combine it with appropriate presentation in media and appropriate social campaign to get all of we can with this kind of change. But another question arises: if we should use criminal law and treat criminal law as the best social technique to improve the life of the older people. And my answer is no. We should treat criminal law as a ultima ratio, and it's obvious. But then another question arises: what else can be done to protect the older people? And during my analysis, I've learned that there are some other techniques of social influence, some, I would say, some soft techniques of social influence. So what exactly can be done? First of all, training aimed to raising awareness among older people about the threats they face and ways to counteract them. Another thing, introducing free, safe, and effective technological solutions, like different smartphone applications. Training for people who have contact with older people, especially bank employees. They should take care of the older people. Obliging financial institutions, especially banks, to be more vigilant in the area of financially significant transactions of older people. Social campaigns aimed at increasing the awareness of the entire society about the threats that the older adults face from the perspective of potential persons that commit frauds. Creating helplines within which it would be possible to obtain information about potential threats and how to proceed in the event of their actualization. And finally, support older people. As it is rightly pointed out in the literature, individuals who are alone or lonely, given the risk this creates for fraud, should be encouraged and helped to participate in social events. So what we should do? We should take care of the older people. We should be with them, we should talk with them, we should be their partners in their whole living, till the end of their life. And of course you can ask, what is the connection to social exclusion with crimes committed against the older people? And it's easy. Older people are the ideal victim for the perpetrators. This results in a lack of security for the older people in social functioning, a security that other people have. And that's why we can say the feeling of insecurity leads to a social exclusion. Another thing, fraud leads to loss of assets, and poverty leads to social exclusion. And not last but not least, fraud leads to loneliness for the older people, as potentially being blamed for the incident. And loneliness, as I've mentioned, leads to social exclusion. And to briefly sum up my consideration, I think that crimes committed against the older people leads to their, or brings to their, or result in their social exclusion. And that's why there's not only possibility to counteract this kind of crimes, there's a need to fight, to combat this kind of crimes. However, there are not so many scientific studies confirming the effectiveness of individual techniques of counteracting. And that's why our program, our considerations within a group of the social exclusion of older people are so important. This is the time, this is the place we can answer what to do to make the life of the older people better. Thank you very much for your attention.